All right, working on the E36 today. Gonna do a battery install, kind of like a budget race battery in quotations. Gonna build a battery enclosure for it. The cool thing about these batteries, so this is an AGM battery. It's technically a lawnmower battery, if I understand. It's made by a company called Deca. You've probably seen them online. They do sell them on Amazon. Batteries Plus, I think, has them. They're made by East Penn. I actually put one of these in the Miata, but an actual automotive battery, and it's an okay. Miatas are notoriously, I think, bad on batteries. It's been my experience my whole life with a couple that I've had. But the E36, I'm hoping for something a little bit different. This car does have a battery disconnect, so I'm sure that'll help. But we also are going to have this car on a tender, so all these things will help us with battery life and just being able to hit the key and start it. But yeah, 400 cold cranking amps should be plenty to start a straight 6. It's not some huge high compression big block, unfortunately. But yeah, we're gonna get into it, get our enclosure done. I do need the adapters that take this from a regular M6x1 fitting like a lawnmower would take with a very small lead to something that is like a battery terminal. Here it is next to a battery out of my M Coupe. I believe this is like an H6 size battery, if you know your battery sizes. 570 cold cranking amps. So only 170 more cold cranking amps out of that battery. Also huge weight difference. This battery is like right around 11, 12 pounds, I believe. This thing, 25, 30. So another little benefit. As far as what we're gonna use to hold it down, this is just your run-of-the-mill aluminum L bracket. Aluminum because, you know, it's lightweight, I guess. But yeah, you can imagine if this was the bottom of the battery, it'll sit like that. And we will build a box that goes around the bottom. And then I have some more strap aluminum that we will actually bend over the top, run it down, and have something on the chassis that will ultimately hold this sucker down. This will be mostly holding it side to side, front to back. Alright, so we're going to need to measure the battery here for our base plate. Keeping in mind that our bracketry is 1 inch wide, so we're going to have to add 2 inches, 1 inch on each side of our our parallel brackets, so that these can stack on here, because I am not going to weld them, unfortunately. Don't have a TIG welder. So 6.5. So we're going to need 8.5 inches. Technically, I don't even need a measuring tape for that because I have that length memorized. Don't ask me why. 8.5 and 8.5. Alright, well, I would bring you guys closer, but I love this lens and I don't have a filter for it. So we are going to keep you kind of far away, just to keep the camera safe. Check ourselves here. Like I said, we're going to cheat it over just a little bit on the outside, just to give ourselves a little bit of extra room. Crank this thing down. Obviously left pretty rough spot there. We're gonna go deburr that. There's our deburred piece. A little bit of a file on the inside, just to make sure it doesn't catch an edge or anything. Nothing too fancy. Now you can see kind of the idea. And obviously we're gonna have one more that goes there to there. Alright, so obviously next we're gonna measure. It's actually inside to inside, so 5 inches. So 2 5-inch cuts should do it. Now you can kind of see the idea here. Now this is going to create a point where you can use whatever hardware you want, and it's not going to interfere with the battery. And then obviously we're going to have our strap. Now obviously your next measurement is going to be for your strap going up over the battery. You see, if I had a TIG welder, I would probably weld an L, another L here, and actually use a more traditional kind of, not all thread, but here, actually I have one right here. Just a more, like a 3/8 version of that. You could still hook it in and, you know, use a wing nut, but I don't have a TIG welder, so it is what it is. So what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna short this measurement by about a 1/2 inch. You wanna actually leave a small gap so that the strap is being actively pulled down while being tightened. So let's see, we have what looks like right about 7 inches tall. So we're gonna go, I would say actually a 1/4 inch. No, let's start with 6.5. Yeah, we're gonna start 6.5 tall by 5 inches, 5.25 wide. Kind of get an idea of the size compared to the stock battery. Obviously want to cheat it up to the front a little bit, you know, weight balance and all, but give you an idea here. Boop. So once that terminal's on, that one will be perfect. Then I'll have to build one for the ground, which won't be hard, but it'll test fit. So we'll give you an idea of the box in the car with the rib nuts and the hardware I chose. Now I'm going to scuff it all up and paint this back kind of corner over here. Like I said, scuffed it up and just put some undercoating down, some primer and some undercoating. It was, you know, starting to get a little rusty from all the battery acid and everything, so you really just want to seal it up. The only other thing I added right there, which you guys can see, are these studs for the upper clamp. That's going to be anchored by essentially a bolt and a washer on both sides, tightened together. And we would literally have to pull through that aluminum in order to rip the battery out. So that's what it looks like. It's not great. Again, it's just a drift car. Doesn't need to be crazy. It just needs to be sealed, not rust, and it should be good. So this is the upper clamp. I just whipped it out on this Harbor Freight brake. I mean, super cheap. This is like 1/8 inch aluminum strap. Should be plenty. If that's coming out, I got more problems. That's all I gotta say. So obviously just take your battery measurements and just bend it over here. Just make sure this is clamped down solid. And I mean, these are super cheap and I use this thing all the time for thin stuff, breaking edges on stuff. It's just super helpful, little cheap thing. I think they're under $100, but I'll go show you what this looks like installed. Obviously you have to make a new battery cable. Well, you might actually not, but mine was in horrible shape. I think I showed you that it was made out of speaker wire. So I had a 24-inch battery cable lying around. I actually just cut it pretty much in half. Not a huge fan of these cheap style terminal ends. I think I would use a better one, but it's what I had lying around. And again, drift car, don't make it too complicated. Just smash the new end on it and you'll be good to go. Alright guys, there's your finished product. I left the negative a little short. I'm sorry, a little long. In case you ever have to do any repairs to either ends, you'll be able to do it a couple times. If you're really not worried about that, you can run it straight back and forth to the ground, which is right there. But overall, really happy with how it turned out. Looks cool. And for all you naysayers, I'm going to show you how well this battery starts this car. I know, kind of an odd angle, but I wanted you guys to hear how well it cranks. So more time. Doesn't feel loaded down, bogged down, nothing. Works great. All right, there you have it. That's how I installed a lightweight battery into my E36. Pretty easy process. About $30 in materials, $85 for a battery. The car already needed a battery, so I figured this would be a fun experiment. I was really surprised how well that 400 cold cranking amp lawnmower battery cranked this car up. It really doesn't sound any different than the gigantic H6s that come in these cars with, you know, what, almost 80% more cranking amperage. Yeah, crazy to me. Starts up great. I'll probably end up putting it in more cars. It's an AGM. Or maybe I'll just spend real money and get a lithium battery like most people in motorsports. No, I probably won't do that. Yeah, I need to eat food every once in a while. So yeah, I'm gonna keep putting the lawnmower batteries in and let y'all know how it works out. Pretty fun little experiment. Let's go drifting, I guess. That's probably the next step. A little drift action. Later.